Ok, ကျွန်တော်တို့
It's the 3rd of July 2022. This is the program of People's Go and Ways of Opinion program. Today's topic for discussion is about the use of social media and the fake news propagandas of military council. We will have all the panelists in this conversation. They are here with us. We have Dr. Thiha, Kozinze Malalawin as our special guests. I hope that all of us are here. Without further ado, I just would like to start our conversation with Dr. Thiha. I have a question for you, Doctor. The military council used fake news in order to reduce the momentum of the revolution. That is the facts that we know by the public and as well as by the CDM military personnel. So I just would like to understand from you what are fake news for you and how the military council use fake news. Thank you. I have two parts that I would like to mention. First of all, about fake news. And then I will talk about how the military council used fake news in order to reduce the momentum of the revolution. Under the fake news topic, I would like to mention three things. One, it's about misinformation. Well, apparently, as the name suggests, the person who made that piece of information knew it, that he or she receive a piece of information without realizing if it is a true information or not. So that is what we call the misinformation. So say, for example, people would use Facebook saying that, oh, I hear this gunshot, or my friend said that there is a gunshot. So basically, that person who posts this piece of information may not have any bad intention to spread that piece of news. So this is what we call the misinformation. And the second one that I would like to mention is that disinformation. Disinformation is a kind of an information that the person who spread that information knew that that information is not true and yet deliberately spread that wrong information to the public. So this is what the disinformation would be. And people also use clickbait for the business purpose. And that is also categorized under the disinformation. And we also have a deepfake video as well with all this advanced technology. So for example, there is this video about Obama that was made with all this high technology in order to spread the fake news or the disinformation. And we have the third category. The third category is kind of with the name malinformation. Malinformation is a nuance of the disinformation. It has some truth in it, but not all the truth. So for example, there might be a news that the minister of NUG was enjoying the best of his time in one of a foreign country, and with a piece of photo showing that this minister had dinner. But it happened to be the case that that photo was taken several years ago during his trip in one of a foreign country. But that malinformation was deliberately distort that information by hiding that it was an old photo and write the news that as if that this minister is enjoying his time now. So this is what it's called the malinformation. So basically, today's world is the world of information. Information's accessibility, it's quite easy. And military council need to have a very strong justification for their wrong action to make as if that they have all the rights and all the true reason to commit this sort of atrocities. So then again, they would use all sort of fake news in order to lie or in order to tell to the public that public would be convinced about all of their action. So, for example, the malinformation against NUG or the disinformation about NUG would be a kind of fake news strategy that the military council would be using. So the impact of it would be there in the public. If the public would believe of all this fake news, they may feel not motivation enough to be part of this revolution. And as all the consequences of it, the fun and the income generation of this revolution will be less, etc., etc. And the military council used fake news in order to hammer the feeling of fear in the head of public. For example, all this death sentence that that the revolutionists are convicted would make big news about it. And the military council would boost all the news about the infest the capture of the public properties, well, etc., etc., so that people would feel depressed. So these are the way that the military councils are used in order to undermine the revolution. So it is very much important for us to understand all the natures of a fake news. So even in the COVID time, the world encounter the problem of the fake news. Fake news is the global problem and the global phenomenon. In order to overcome that, the digital literacy is what people need as well. And people also need to have the reliable media sources as well. So all of these would be a very long-term solution that we would need to go through. But what we can do right away is to be critical about our own mind, our own perspective. As you all know that we were educated through the military slave education. We were trained to be told. So whenever our mind read the social media, we just receive it. We just take all the news as the truth without necessarily having this mindset of questioning, critical thinking. So it's very common that people can be cheated by all this fake news these days as well. And people can be cheated through the under knowledge regarding the technology. So these are all the context in terms of the fake news, social media around us. So the suggestion for us is that not to believe everything that you read, know, hear. So you really need to identify the what would be the true information source as well. Facts check is something that one must do as well. You may need to ask, or you may want to ask more people if a piece of information that you receive is true or wrong. And another thing is that not to share or not to write or not to post in social media if you're not sure about it. You need to be patient about it rather than posting everything without verification. I would rather I would rather click to donate these days. So these days are very important days for us to receive true information. If no true information, this revolution will not reach up to this level as well. Informations are needed, I'm sure, but fluctuations of information is a very dangerous and risky situation. It is to say that not to consume all the information. You are required to get the right amount of information for you in order to move on and do whatever you have to do rather than being overwhelmed and consumed by these fluctuations of information. Otherwise, the intentions of the fake news propaganda of the military council will be a success. Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor, for your informations and discussion. The thing is that the military councils are using fake news in order to undermine the revolution. So we learn quite a lot from you. If you have any particular questions to Dr. Phio Thiha, please raise your question in the Q&A box. I now would like to invite Thia Zinze Luen. To you. Dr. Phio Thiha talked about fake news, and he also mentioned about clickbait. What is clickbait? I just would like to understand from you regarding what the clickbait is. Thank you. Dr. Phio Thiha mentioned a bit about what the clickbait is briefly. In my opinion, clickbait is not necessarily about the tools of the political issues. Clickbait, its original purpose and intention is for business purpose. People would want to sell things. So in order to sell something, they will use other information. And through this other information, the product or the things that they would like to sell will be linked. So this is the nature of a clickbait. In a particular website, there would be advertisement. If the advertisement is viewed by the user, then the owner of this advertisement would earn money. So that is how and the purpose of a clickbait. Clickbait is like a carrot for a rabbit in order to direct a way for a rabbit to go, then you might want to use the carrot. So this is a kind of what the this is a kind of a situation or purpose that the clickbait would be used. If you do not really understand the functions of a clickbait, one would end up consumed all the informations of the clickbait. So Facebook also has the algorithm in order to deal with the clickbait. Past 2 years, the Facebook has the policy update to have a meaningful conversation engagement in the clickbait business. So the algorithm of a Facebook was very much based on the content. If the content is the good content, then Facebook would show that content to more people. And these days, the Facebook updated policy would be based on the conversation or reaction or engagement. If these would be more, then these particular item would be shown to more people. So some of the posts would be so much popular, but it does not necessarily mean that the value of the content is high. So in Facebook, the small, short piece of information would be reached to many people in comparison with a long content. So one can conclude that you may write whatever and however good the content is if you write a novel anyway, but then again, you cannot anticipate that it would be reached to many people in Facebook. So now, talking about the clickbait and the Facebook algorithm relation. Just to give an example, you might post something and it would reach to 50 people. If 5 or 10 people engaged in this post, then it would show to more hundreds of people. And if that engagement of this post would be high, then it would reach to more thousands. So this is to say that you need to have an initial people to engage in a particular post to reach to more people. And if no one look at clickbait, then that clickbait would not reach to anyone. And if more people would react to or look at the clickbait, it would spread to more people. So that's why some people might say that, well, don't react on that or don't engage on this. Otherwise, it would reach to more people. And that piece of information should not reach to more people. It is fake news, etc., etc. So that is the truth in it as well. So if it is a fake one, then it is very important that one must not engage in this post. Well, that is how I understand in terms of the clickbait and Facebook algorithm, although I am not an expert or technician. As Dr. Thiha mentioned, we may face counter reactions of the military council not to be interested in this revolution and to pursue other non-revolution information. In order to do so, they would use clickbait, they would use all this fake news engagement, etc., etc. So now, in my opinion, more people really need to participate in this click to donate action. More people really need to engage in it. We have the impression that we got reduced amount of people participating in the clickbait, which is not desirable. Rather than looking at all the other things, or rather than spending our times on the clickbait, then one would want to participate and dedicated their times in the click to donate as well. So we also have some clickbait arrangement for the revolution side as well, which is a good example as well. And I encourage their bravery. I would not be that brave to come up with the clickbait for the revolution. So in short, clickbait is something that people use in order to draw mass number of public to attract their attention. Clickbait is something we should think of using for our own purpose and agenda as well. And another thing that I would like to talk about is that you might also want to have alternative account. And another thing that I just would like to encourage you is just to read information, but not to engage in it. Otherwise, there would be fluctuations of information on the fake news. On the other hand, if it is the true information about the revolution, write comment, engaged in it, give reaction so that it would reach to more people. That is the suggestion that I would like to give to everyone. What I worried is that if we use all the real account, then you might concern about your own security. So please have other account, alternative account, not revealing your own identity, but have that kind of account in order to engage, react the pro-revolution post. I do have another account as well. I live in two worlds in terms of a social media. I have the impression that we have to have this kind of habit in order to spread the news about the revolutions as well. So Facebook algorithm itself is a virtual wall itself. So I just would like to invite everyone to join the algorithm virtual world of the pro-revolution. Thank you. Now you mentioned about clickbait and how the Facebook algorithm works. I hope that everyone learned a lot from you as well. You all know that we have quite a lot of revolution pages, posts each day. So we just would like to encourage everyone to like them, to share them, to comment them so that it would reach to more people. The engagement are very critical to have more in order to counteract the spreading of fake news on the social media as well. I also have a second question to Thiha Sinzilin. As we all know that there are quite a lot of social influencers in the social media. They are having their social media activities for their own personal business and personal interests. And few people mention that they should do it, they can do it because it is just their personal matters. But the social influencers, social activities in social media, how it would impact the revolution, particularly in the perspective of how of knowing that how the Facebook algorithm works. Thank you. Well, I would say that some social media have all sort of activities in the social media, not necessarily to undermine the revolution news in the Facebook. But there might also be people who use social media in order to undermine the news and medias of the pro-revolution. But knowing that how the Facebook algorithm works, if the social influencer would say something, then that would be spread it everywhere. Knowing that Facebook policy, that it algorithm looks only the engagement, not necessarily the value of the content itself. So what I would like to request to everyone is, yes, you use social media for your personal business and personal interest. But what I would like to request is that to use it less than you normally would do. Otherwise, yours information will be everywhere and the informations of the revolution will not reach to many people anymore due to the algorithm of the Facebook and policy of the Facebook. So what I would like to say is that if you can stay without posting anything as a social media influencer about your fun, about your family, about your business, about your interest, then you might want to be quiet in there so that pro-revolution news would be much more visible. So basically, selfishness is something that one need to reflect ourselves, the level of it, and one need to contain oneself selfishness. Well, I'm not naming everyone. At the very beginning of the revolution, there are social media social influencer who look as if that they participated in the social media by raising three fingers, but they just disappeared these days. And having yourself silent as a social influencer on social media, it's okay, but sometimes the social influencer would make news about how they enjoy, how they are having the best of their life in social media, then I think that it's a bit just too much. Or you might want to consider to control oneself. I just do not want to blame anyone, but one need to be sensitive about the impact of what you did on the social media as well. I do understand that you may not want to speak out due to the security reason, which it's understandable, but you can also highlight about the difficulties of the internally displaced people as the role of the social influencer. Otherwise, we would end up living in two separate worlds. I think that the social influencers have a very clear idea on which side that they should stand and they have to stand. What I would like to request to the social influencers is that if you want to say nothing about revolution, which is just fine, I could understand their security reasons. Otherwise, I just would like to encourage them to stand with the people. Myanmar people really looked up the social influencers. What they say matters. So at this particular moment, I want to encourage the social influencers to show their values. Another thing that I just would like to talk about is that if you look at the categories of the social influencers, we have the key opinions leader and as well as celebrities. The key opinion leaders can mobilize people to get support of hundreds of millions of people. So basically, the role of the key opinion leaders in the marketing world is very important. And it's very important that the key opinion leaders understand their own role, knowing that they can mobilize to the right direction. Not all the social influencers are key opinion leader. You may have the you may have the social influencers who has millions of followers, but that millions of followers would not necessarily follow or do what the social influencer says. But the key opinion leaders' role is very different. The key opinion leaders may not have millions of followers, but if they say something, they might probably be hundreds of millions of people who would do according to what that key opinion leaders says. So they really have to take a role to mobilize people as well. And for the audience perspective, we really need to understand that what we are supporting, who we are supporting. The political issues and personal issues these days cannot be separated that much. So I just want to encourage people to be strong and know what we are doing in social media as well. And the people's power, it's very huge. It is not that only influencer or only celebrity has power. The people has ultimate power. So people really must show who they support, who they do not support, so that if there would be a improper social influencer, they will be careful about what they do. That is something that I just want you to consider. Thank you very much.
social influencer တွေကိုဘယ်လိုမျိုးဆောင်ရွက်တင်တယ်သူတို့ပေါ်မှာ
The role of the social influencers in this revolution is something that we've learned from you. Thank you very much. Now, I just would like to invite another speaker. Siama Dololawin. You're welcome.
PCMJ ပေါ့နော်ကျွန်တော်တို့
You
Journalist Protection Committee ကနေမှာကျွန်တော်တို့
are from
ကော်မတီအဖွဲ့ဝင်တယောက်ဖြစ်ပါတယ်အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်
PCMJ.
ဂျာနယ်နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ journalist တွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးသတင်းတွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီး
You are a journalist yourself as well. I have a question for you regarding news. What is your observation regarding the fake news propaganda of the SAC with the perspective of the member of a media community? Thank you. I observed the last press conference of the SAC. Since we are the member of a media community, we have to watch the press conference of the SACs as well. They have 8 channels, the television channels, and they have 8 radio channels. So these are the official propaganda pathway of the SACs. So in total, they have 16 media channels to spread their propaganda. Their volume is by no means small. And we also have a Telegram as a platform. In Telegram, we can also observe that there are 2 separate walls in the Telegram, as the previous speaker mentions as well. And the SAC also use the Telegram of some of the news media might refer the information of the SAC's Telegram channel as well. And some journalists make a reference to the information that they obtain from the telegrams as well and make news about it as well. So what happened is that people might unaware that they themselves are convinced from all this fake news propaganda and channels used by the SAC. SAC fake news are distributed, spread by the state medias, all the channels that I mentioned, and through the pro-SAC pages. So these are how they spread news, the fake news. Thank you. It's very informative that you mentioned on how the SAC spread the fake news propaganda. And you also mentioned about things that public should be careful in all these channels as well. And another thing that I just would like to invite everyone is to participate in the discussion when we have the Q&A section. I also have another question to you. People do not necessarily believe the news of the SAC, but still they mobilize people to believe their fake news. How do they do that? You also know that the Myanmar television viewing rate dropped. People boycott their Myanmar television. But still, the propaganda pathway of the SAC is not rely on the Myanmar television. They threat people in the living area say for example, there was an incident, there was a strike in a wet market, and next day that wet market got raided by the soldiers, and they make news about it. So that news would be read and observed by the general public, then they, in that case, could manage to pass this piece of news to the public so that people would feel much more afraid in participating in the strike. You also know that we lived under the sense of fear, not brave enough to listen to the VOA, BBC, RFA in the past. Because they threat, they bully you if you use or if you listen to this kind of media, radios in the past. We cannot say that we will not have that kind of situation again. And another thing is that the press conference, they conducted quite a lot of press conference. The journalists really would have to be careful about making news about the press conference. Your intention is that not to spread the propaganda of them, but just you making the news of the press conference, you on the other way are part of the propaganda. So this is something that we have to be careful as the member of social media. People play the most important role. The second most important role, it's the job of journalists, not to make news about press conference of the SAC, not to make news about threats of the military council, in order not to hammer the sense of fear into people's head. Thank you. We have, thank you very much for your conversation. We have the People's Goal Facebook page. In this Facebook page, I would like to invite everyone to participate in the discussion under our page as well. I would like to encourage everyone to participate in the conversation of the Zoom and live of the Zoom as well. And if you encounter anyone who would want to join the People Embracing program, please contact us as well so that we would facilitate for them. And we would also like to welcome your support and assistance for the People Embracing program through the People's Goal Facebook page. Again, if you have any particular question or discussion, please engage and participate in our Zoom link and in the chat, in the Q&A box as well. As Dr. Thiha mentioned, please like, share, and write comment in our People's Goal page posts. I now would like to invite Dr. Thiha again. Social influence topic was discussed by Ko Zinze Luen. Now, what I would like to discuss with you is about the role of people. There are news about people got killed, people who ran away, people who got arrested, and we have quite an enormous number of people facing all the hardship. But on the other hand, we have another type of public who are enjoying the best of their time. As a consequences of it, we have posts about struggle of the revolution. But on the other hand, there are Facebook posts about all the good things happening for their personal life. Some people suggest that not to not to post this kind of personal information or personal post that you are enjoying the best of your time. What is your opinion for that? In order to respond to this, I do not want to say that you should post everything about revolution. No, I don't say that. People have their different ways of life. You may be very much involved in the revolution, but you cannot anticipate or expect that everyone would be like what you do. But what I would like to suggest is that to be low profile on social media, it is not to be blamed. And I know that some of the people would use social media for their life, for their career, which is fine. And some people also post about their personal achievement, which is fine. But if you can stay without showing the world that you are enjoying the best of your life, then please be low profile. Having all sort of trip and having the best of your time outside of the social media, then that is fine. But if you do not really boost yourself in the social media for the fact that you are enjoying the best of your time, then I found it a bit difficult to understand why you have to boost the best of your time on social media. Well, it is not that I am jealous of them, but we want to, we do not want to demotivate the comrades of the revolution. A comrade would be in the jungle, and the siblings of that comrade would be in town. And if that sibling post all sort of photos enjoying the best of the time, then this comrade in the jungle would feel so sad about himself. I just would like to make a reference on this famous saying, don't judge by the cover of the book. So it is very much true to the social media as well, because people tend to judge the book by its cover. So if you can stay low profile in social media, please do. And if you post all sort of fun things on social media, knowing that a village are being burned down, there are massacres, atrocities, then you might want to control yourself in posting this kind of fun thing, which has the impact on the motivation of the comrades and revolutionists as well. We know that people are dying every day, every minute, every seconds. Are you too sad about all of these dead? No, I don't mean that. But this country, it's in mourning because people are being killed every day. So you might want to show your sympathy, empathy, and ethic in social media. If you are civilized enough, or if we are socialized enough, then you might want to consider how you show your respect in a particular situation to the people as well. So say, for example, if you boost yourself too much, then you might want to consider yourself how much you are civilized or not. So that is also true to the social influencers as well. Some of the social medias do their business online, and they also support the revolution, low profile in low profile manner, which is fine. But if on the other way around is happened, then this is something that I would be shameful about themselves. So please show your respect to the country and to the people as well. And some people would go out and have fun by their own ways, but they would not boost anything on Facebook. Then is it the right thing to do? Well, then again, clearly you are not with the comrades of the revolution. You might probably faking the sympathy and empathy of with the comrades as well. I don't mean that you take guns and join the People Defense Force, or I don't mean that you are now to go out to the streets and strike. No, I don't mean that. But you might want to participate in every means that possible for you to participate. So say, for example, you don't say anything on Facebook, you don't show yourself on Facebook, you don't boost yourself on Facebook, but you enjoy the best of your time and you did not participate anything in the revolution, then that situation is not good as well. So what I would like to say is that the success of this revolution will change everyone's future. If we lose, everyone will be in trouble. By 2023, they will have uh, an election, and this is to lay the foundation that they want. So basically, all the impact of the result of this revolution it's to be enjoyed by everyone. So what I'm trying to say is that this revolution impacts everyone. The more people participated in this revolution is required. And say, for example, if you do not participate anything at all in this revolution, and once the revolution succeed, then all the good thing will be happening in the future. Then would you feel comfortable enjoying all the fruits of the revolution of which you did not participate at all? You don't want to have that kind of situation, right? You don't want to feel yourself. So that's why it's very important that everyone participate in various ways and in many ways in in this revolutions as well. Another thing that I would like to say is that not to be too much emotional on all this Facebook posts, not to feel depressed so much due to the impact of the social media. So it's been over 15 months of revolution. We reached that far due to the people's participation. So the emotional swing due to the Facebook page is something that is not to be encouraged. Thank you very much. You talked about empathy, sympathy, respect in the Facebook, and behind the curtain of a Facebook, what you could do and how you could do and how you behave are all that we observed from your conversations as well. Again, you also mentioned about not to take personally and not to feel too much emotion regarding the content of the Facebook. This is something that we would like to suggest to the comrades of these revolutions as well. And I also would like to invite everyone to participate in this revolution movement in every way and in any way that you can. Now, I just would like to invite Sia Zinzeluen. I have a question for you. That question has to do with the previous news, which has to do with the Ukarita military camp seizure. Some said that it was succeeded and some said that it was not. And news about that was spread around the social media. Fluctuations of news about that is just too much. KNDO, in the end, came up with the statement that they can make only the official information release. What happened? Why? Thank you. I I do not want to blame anyone. I do not want to blame the comrades on the ground. And I already would like to make an apology in advance if I say something inappropriate or wrong. I'm not an expert on the military strategies or anything of that sort. But let me answer the question. As you all know that the Southern comrades got military training in that particular area. And we also have a Northern comrades who joined the military training in the northern part of the country. During the, well, in terms of all sort of news of what's going on, the news of what's going on from southern parts were more spreaded than that of what's going on in the northern part of the country. As a result of it, the SAC emphasized on the southern part more through their military intelligence. So what happened is that if the southern comrades make news about themselves too much, then the military intelligence gathering would be too easy for the SAC, and they would be attacked too easily. So the point that I would like to make is that when it comes to all the military sensitive information, they have to be careful talking about them in the social media. All of these, I'm sure, would be controlled by the change of command in the Southern Revolution forces. And sometimes there might be piece of information in the conversation, or there might be a video, and through these materials, intelligence might be identified as well. Or you may also have live streaming, and if these live streaming conversation can be too sensitive as well. So say, for example, if that kind of sensitive information might be the evidence or might be subject of the genocide, war crime, etc., etc. So all I'm trying to say is that not to feed them for the information that they look for. Your action for you might not mean too much for you. You just acted it in a particular way in a social media, but that might serve as a strong evidence to attack you by the SAC. In proper words, a particular action are all very sensitive. You must want to reduce using social media in that manner. So what we should do, in my perspective, is that the media relations in the Southern Revolution forces is something that I just would like to talk. The Southern Revolution area media restriction is a bit relaxed in my opinion in compare with the northern part. Well, I'm not blaming media members, but let me say this. Some media members want to have information in advance before the official press release of a particular revolution forces by seeking information from the comrades from the ground. So media member would squeeze the comrades on the ground in order to get piece of information in advance of the official press release. So the comrades would be approached by the member of media that, well, you know what, I'm not quoting you, but just answer my question. I think this is not an ethical ethical ways of doing job of the media members. I asked this particular question to my friend journalist. So basically, I argue with my friend journalist that you should talk only to the spokespersons, not to the other people. But anyway, the journalist would want to get news in advance. It is a way that they would like to attract more readers, I understand. And some of the journalists says that I just want to have a piece of news in advance than that of the official press statement, so that the pro-revolutionist would be informed early and will have all sort of support. I understand as well for that. So we need to strike the right balance in terms of wanting to know piece of information in advance, not to squeeze with your questions to the comrades. And ultimately, people have to control themselves in terms of their hunger of information. If you can wait, you just wait to know something. And some of my media members, friends says that, well, we have a competition among our staffs as well. Everyone want to get piece of information in advance. So basically, the role of the people is to show to the media that they can wait, they can read an incident next day or few days after what had happened, then the public would not drive the media to get all sort of information without verification. And another thing that I just would like to say is that things takes time, and don't anticipate or don't expect unrealistic situation. So not to be too sensitive on the news, and support the revolution not based on the news-driven approach. So this is to make sure to cut the vicious cycle. It is very important that the people do not drive the media to get news in an unmatured manners. So basically, with the people's power, the media control can happen as well. On the other hand, you have all sort of rules and regulation which you can use as a tool to control all sort of fluctuations of news as well. But I have the impression that the southern part have much more relaxed media rules as well. Again, I apologize to everyone that this is not to blame anyone. I just feel my opinion as the member of the public. Thank you. What I learned from you is that in terms of the military news, the role of a public is that not to be too eager to get this piece of news. And you also mentioned about the role of a member of the media, not to make news too fast when it comes to the military information. And you also mentioned about the case that the revolution comrades think that they should give news to the public so that the public would contribute for their military action. So our suggestion is that public are to support the revolution movement, not necessarily based on the news-driven support, but rather with your own will. Next, I would like to ask Dollar Lawen, what is your difficulty that you face in verifying the right news for the public? Thank you. Well, to echo the previous speaker says that people want to know information too early, too quick. The purpose of the news is to provide right information and to contribute the interest of a public. Quick news is not all about what you need. The quicker the news is made, the higher the risk that it could be wrong. So, due to the piece of news in the media, due to the piece of photo or videos from the ground, there are good contribution to this movement and as well as negative contribution to this revolution. For the journalists these days very much rely on the citizen journalist for information. When it comes to the citizen journalist, The citizen themselves can be the journalist in the public, who lives in the public, and the comrades. A PDF can also be the citizen journalist as well. But the technical aspect of the information or news are not something that the citizen journalist would not have. Whenever we make news for the international medias, we receive the ingredients of the news from the citizen journalists, but the ingredients that we receive in terms of photos and in terms of video are not good enough to use as the international news. So basically, with the purpose of to be quick and with the purpose of to inform public so early, it has very high risk. We may not end up not having a good enough evidence, and that quick piece of information may be used by the SAC for their own propagandas as well. And the role of a journalist is to verify the piece of information that they received from anyone. It is the breach of ethics if the journalist does not verify the piece of information that he received and still make news. And the role of the public is to criticize the authenticity of the news that they receive. And public should make comment in the Facebook if that piece of news is not good or it's not true by the public, so that the journalist will be careful and behave properly. These days, what happened is that people want to know, to read, and to share all the winning story. Some of the winning stories that they share, participate, engage might not be a true one. So verification is to be done by everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much for your conversation.
ကျွန်တော်တို့အခုဒီ PDF ကပဲတင်တင် data မှာပဲလုံးလုံးအခုလိုမျိုးနေတဲ့လူတွေနေတဲ့ဒီပုံကိုယ်တွေပေါ့နော်ပုံကိုယ်တွေအနေနဲ့သူတို့သတင်းကိုဘယ်လိုတင်တင်တယ်နောက်လို့ရှိရင်ဘယ်လိုမျိုးလုပ်တင်တယ်ဆိုတော့အသေးချာသိအောင်လုပ်တင်ပါတယ်
Now we learn from you about the verification of the news, and we also learn that all the atrocities of the SACs are the fact, but the evidence of it, the quality of the videos or the qualities of the evidence of these to be covered in the international news media are not strong enough due to the technical difficulties in terms of journalism knowledge. So we all have to be careful about that. That's what you mentioned. Thank you very much. Another thing that I just would like to talk about is that the people's goal, it's run by the CDM military personnel. we facilitate more CDM military personnel joined with us, and we also support, assist, and solve the problem of the CDM military personnel. So I just would like to encourage everyone to support us, assist us, and contact us if you want to leave the military and join with us. You don't need to spend a bullet to have one soldier join in the CDM movement. So please leave the army and please support the CDM soldier. So this is the information that I would like to share to the public as well, and I would like to ask the public to support us. Now, I would like to invite Sia Zinze.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ဆရာကြီးကျွန်တော်တို့ခုဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့ကဒီတော်လိုင်းကာလာကြီးတစ်နှစ်နဲ့9လ
It's
တောင်ကျော်
been over a year and a half that we have this revolution. It is a very difficult time for us.
လုပ်ခဲ့ဘူးရဲ့တကယ်ဟိုမှာဒီလုပ်ငန်းတွေအများကြီးဆောင်ရွက်ခဲ့ပြီးအကုန်လုံး
Everyone in this panel discussion leave your normal life in order to join this revolution movement. It is quite a difficult situation mentally and physically, and on top of that, we observed all sort of depressing news, killing, torture, atrocities. So there is this depression, there is this mental difficulty, there is this mental fatigues. How to overcome? Please share your opinion. Thank you. I might be different in order to overcome my difficulties. In terms of the coping mechanism, I do not necessarily talk with people to de-stress myself. Some people might do that, but I might want to be on my own, divert my attention to other activities, playing game, watching TV, etc., etc. But I'm not doing all of these 24/7. Of course, there are times that I feel frustrated, confused, nothing in terms of what to do next. And you all know that there are all these kind of political ups and downs that we observed as well. And there are all sort of information that we feel frustrated due to all this dynamic in this revolution. And all of these make us frustrated, depressed. I remember the personal development in training. What I learned at that time is that you got a piece of information, and that piece of information, if you can control or not. If you can control, then do whatever that right to do. And if you cannot control, but that situation or that piece of information make you feel bad, then you need to divert, or then you need to find a way to de-stress yourself. There are many ways to de-stress yourself. Talking with your friends, or find the professional counselor, etc., etc. So you might want to deal with all these professionals if you're in need as well. They have all sort of experience. They can provide you all sort of suggestion, advice as well. Link them up. I mentioned that I divert my emotion to something else, but if I do it too much, I feel bad about it. I start feeling guilty. Well, what I'm trying to say is that if you cannot do anything much, or if you cannot do much, but your mental situation is all down, then you might want to divert your attention to other thing. Probably you might want to participate in this click to donate. So just by touching the phone screen in the click to donate program, then that is already quite something effective and efficient. I did myself in this way as well. You may listen to music, you may watch television, and you may read. And while doing these, just click to donate. But the thing is that you may be depressed, but if your depression would not bring any positive thing to the revolution, then you need to find a way to overcome that. I mentioned about diversion, and you may also might want to find your own way to make sure that you feel good. And of course, you may not want to talk to the professional, but then again, finding your own friends to express yourself, to let yourself out might also be an options as well. But please be careful that you are not to talk with someone who also have their own problems. Otherwise, you will have the collective accumulations of the mental difficulties among yourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing the way that you overcome and possible ways that could be used to overcome that difficult situation. Now, my same question would go to Dr. Thiha. We are now talking about these mental difficulties in this revolution. In the social medias, you have all the fake news, news about killing, news about torching of village, and you may also see all sort of brutality and inhumane news. All of these, all of these may have the difficult impact on mentality. How to overcome them? Thank you very much. Let's say positive attitudes and positive action is what we need. And your attitude needs to be positive and your action needs to be positive. What do I mean by that is that, say, in this situation, we have over 15 months, we have over a year and a half in this revolution, and we don't know how long that's going to be. There are all sort of uncertainty as well. Passing the uncertainty is not comfortable for everyone. So it's just like a kind of situation that we end up being in a shipwreck and floating in the sea, and there is no hint of island nearby. In order to overcome that situation, it's quite a difficult um, situation, but that is possible to overcome. Positive attitude, it's very much important by This is to say that to control what you can. So what you can control and you control it. So for example, somebody got the death sentence conviction, then there is nothing much you can do about it. And say, for example, there is this village completely burned down. What you can do about it? Right away, you cannot do much about it. But what you can do, what you can control, is to participate in the click to donate. Your clicking generate money, which you can do. You should be serious about it as well, so that your attention would not be on the bad thing. So be focused, pay attention on what you can do. And what I would like to say is that enjoying the best of your time while people got killed is not good. And at the same time, feel sad on everything that you encounter is not good as well. You have to be balanced in terms of your emotion so that it would be very humane to be. So basically, be focused, do what you can do. Another point that I would like to say is that you may have, let's say, 100,000 charts income, and you only contribute not even 1,000 charts as a contribution in the revolution, then it is not good as well. You have to be serious about your participation, which is the positive attitudes. Now let me talk about the positive action. They are very important. Now we talked about the social media today. The digital minimalism is something that I just would like to talk about. This, it's about using only to your need, not more than your need, in using the digital platform. And we also have the digital detox as well. Digital detox is cutting your digital usage completely out and come back again. I think which would not be sustained. Just having the digital minimalism, it's what it would be a way to go for a long run. Li- Limit the number of apps just only to your need. Limit yourself in absorbing information only to your needs. Uh, what the digital minimalism is about. And on the other hand, you would pay much more attention on the practical issues as well. You might read news just to know what's going on and do your life improvement activities and participate in the click to donate. So this is what the life of the digital minimalism is. Another thing that I just would like to talk about the passive consumption rather than active consumption, reading everything, but I just will want you to encourage to be active consumption. Active consumption is that you know what you are looking and you just look what you want to know and then you stop using it. So which is the active consumption. So through all of these ways, your mental health would be fit to some extent. In this revolution time, our mental collapse are there everywhere. And if you encounter that kind of situation, you might want to check or approach the professionals. The number of professionals available out there to provide you the service or to help you, it's completely outnumbered than that of a need. So in this situation, if you seek only to the professions, it would not be that effective and efficient. So there is a psychological first aid. The psychological first aid can be done by para professions as well. Everyone can provide the psychological first aid. What you can do is 3 steps. One is look. Look for the people who are in need of severe mental health care. And second step is listen. So in this situation, if someone want to say something, then listen to them. So basically, I'm not suggesting you to listen to everyone, but if you will have someone who want to talks to you, just listen to them. You don't have to provide any sort of solution for them. So just listen to them. It would mean a lot for the people who are in need of psychological support. The third step is link. Link is help someone who are in need of psychological care to the service providers, to the professionals. You can do that as well in between them. So for example, if your comrades want to talk to the mother who is in town, then if you can help in between, then you just help them. So basically, all of these are part of the psychological first aid everyone can do. So please consider these words: listen, link, look. So if everyone will do this, the psychological relief would be very much among the public. Again, for the future, which is uncertainty, the mentally fit is something that you want to be. So be careful about the fake news, be careful about the propaganda, and be careful consuming all the information in the social media, and each and everyone are to be supported for everyone. Thank you. In this stressful situation, how we should do, how we should support, how we should communicate are shared by you. Thank you very much. And again, for the public, if you feel stress and if you know someone who feel stress and if someone who seek for help, then please remember the 3 steps that you are shared by Dr. Phio. Thank you. Now, I would like to ask Siamalala Win. We're talking about the stress. I know that there are stressful situations in the media community. The journalists were severely bullied by the military. And as a result of it, most of the journalists cannot be within Myanmar. The role of media is very important. So now, I just would like to ask you a question. How would you suggest the public what is the right path and what is the wrong path? How would you suggest to the public? Thank you. We are having a very comprehensive conversation here. We learn a lot about the role of social media and things to be careful with the social media. And there are over 50 journalists who are arrested in Myanmar. And there are many journalists in the liberated areas. There are many journalists who are in exile. The role of the media in Myanmar is paramount. No one disputes about that. The media was even referred as the 4th pillar of the country. So whenever we talked about media in this situation in Myanmar, we have this revolutionary government, revolutionary politicians. We have the revolutionary journalist. So what I'm trying to say is that politics and media are all mixed up. Media member cannot stay away from politics. So whenever media make news, it is either about supporting a political standpoint or opposing a political standpoint. And the thing is that in order to be a right media, each and everyone have to play their own role and do their own job. If the media member does not tell the truth with the justification that, well, if I said the truth, that truth might hamper the momentum of the revolution, then it is not the right decision, in my opinion. So that's why the public should distinguish that if the piece of information is biased or a truth. The SAC will provide or spread all this fake news as part of their propaganda. And it is very important that you do not serve as the redistributor of the propaganda of the SAC. The same goes for the journalist. If you do not tell the truth, if you ignore the truth, but just to position yourself only for the success of the revolution, then you may not complete your job. Truth will be truth. Otherwise, we will have a very difficult future. So for the member of the public, you have a lot of capacity to do in participating in this revolution. If you are serious about, if you give your attention on what you have to do, then the success of the revolution will get nearer. Otherwise, the democratic movement of this country will not be there than what we wish for. Thank you. You share about what journalists should do and what public should do in terms of righteousness. It's been over 90 minutes that we have this conversation, and now, without further ado, I would like to open this floor for the question and answer. There is a name with a chat that raised the hand. Now the floor is yours. Go ahead. Thank you. I just would like to raise several questions, and as well as things seeking for the clarification. Let me say this. In Myanmar, the critical mindset to be there in a piece of information or on a piece of news in Myanmar, it's quite a challenge due to the education system that we have. Our mindset might not probably be logical or critical enough, and we don't necessarily know all the time that we are being cheated or we are observing the right information. So there is this side war effect, and there is this psychological effect that the SAC used. So basically, as a consequence of it, the whole society got wrong intentionally. And I also want to know about the role of the propaganda. Propaganda can have its own advantage as well. Some says that Americans promote their values through the propaganda measures. So good things can be promoted through propaganda as well. That is what I learned. And what happened is that in the social media, there are all sort of yellow pages, and with the yellow pages, they attract people. And once they've gained a lot of audience, and they would use this account or page for their military propaganda as well. So basically, they risk their integrity, but they only care for what they want. Now, my question is that propaganda, is it used only by the SAC? Or would the revolution forces use propaganda as well? So this is something that I just would like to know. So another question that I want to know is that if the revolution used the propaganda, I'm sorry, if the point that the military propaganda seems not working, why? Because of the technology. I also have another question, which has to do with the technology or the technical aspect of the propaganda. So knowing the propaganda techniques, then people will be much more aware of what the propaganda is and be critical about it. What kind of ways, or what would be the methods that the propaganda could be for a good one? And I also would like to ask another question as well, which has to do with the verifications of the fake news, how to make sure that we have the knowledge, and we have the methods, and we have the tools to verify the fake news. Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. Now, Siamado Lalawin, I just would like to request you to summarize your answer rather than going through each and every question. Thank you. You're muted, sorry. Please go ahead. Thank you very much for your question. You asked a lot about the propaganda. So you talked about is propaganda used by the military? Is the propaganda also use the revolution? Propaganda, the word itself has the negative connotation for our ears. I just would like to use the mobilizing for the revolution side. For the SAC, they are mindful about their own agenda. They don't care about their integrity. They don't care about their image. They just want to hold their own power. How to make sure that public understand that? In the journalism, we are very clear that we care only about truth. We are for public. We are for public voice. And we are to pass the voice of people to the government. In here, when we mean government, it is not SAC. The government is the revolution government anyway. So the revolution side mobilize the public for sure. Let's not use the propaganda as a word. So for the SAC, they use propaganda. But how to differentiate between them? Use these values. Is it truth? Is it for public? And is it for the public interest? And it is for the general goodness of the public. And if public would verify all of these values in their mind on a piece of information, then you can clearly say if that piece of information, it's for mobilizing or it's for propaganda. And public are not stupid. It's just that people are not it is not that people are not it is just that people might not be ready to fully participate in the revolution in some of the situation. But what we can say is that people do not swallow the propaganda of the military for sure. So we will try from our side to share information in terms of verifications of news to the public more and more in the future as well. Now we have another hand raised by Mazen Lei. Please go ahead in terms of your question. So we have shortage of time. Yeah, so I just would like to request you to ask short to the point. Thank you. I just would like to ask a question to Dr. Thiha. You mentioned about the role of a public to support each other. So what could be the case that when you support someone, but you got a very negative reaction from the person that you want to help, then what we can do? I just would like to understand your question. If you would repeat your question. I just want to say that it is important that people help each other in this situation, but there are incidents that the social influencer does not support people but gave a very negative reaction or reply to the public. Then what would you think? What would be your opinion on this kind of situation? Thank you. Well, it's very important that the people support each other in this difficult time. My friend talk with me, say that they depressed, and I listen to them, and I also talk to them when I am down as well. Sometimes people might also use Facebook to express themselves that they feel down or they feel expressed. And having that you are down using Facebook, and if you look at the Facebook, you have influencer enjoying the best of the time. Everyone is all happy in Facebook. And that mentally depressed people would feel their situation even worse. So I could understand that, and they might come up with all sort of negative reaction in Facebook. Mutual understanding is something that would be important to have among ourselves. So the people might show their understanding if somebody might enjoy the best of their time for a moment, and at the same time, if people got emotional outbursts in the social media, then we should also understand that and support them as well. Thank you. And thank you very much for your question and as well as the reply by Dr. Thiha as well. Due to the time limitation, we want to have this question as the last one, and then again, please make sure that your question is short to the point. I want to discuss one thing and have a question as well. Kozinze mentioned about the fake news propaganda. The military institution has the proper propaganda mechanisms at their end. And Myanmar public, 80% of Myanmar public has, the social media user in Myanmar, 80% of them use Facebook. And most of the Facebook platforms of the military propaganda got banned. They use different channels for their propaganda. And the military blame the CDM individuals. So I just want to discuss that. We need to have a mechanism to counteract the propaganda of the military. As Zinze mentioned, that the Myanmar public is very much used to follow the personal leaders. I think it is very important for the public to be aware of in terms of what is right and in terms of what is wrong, and have a critical thinking. And another thing that I just would like to talk about is in terms of the war prisoners, the proper treatment is very much important. If no proper treatment of the war prisoners, then you're violating all the rules. So whenever the revolutionists use social media, they have to be mindful about following the proper standards to treat the war prisoners as well. So it is important that they don't post all sort of videos that they and how they treat to the war prisoners. And I also want to ask question to Captain Aung. What we could help to have more soldiers joining the people embracing program. So may I remind you, what is the question? Please raise your question directly. Otherwise, we are having too much of our time here. I just want to understand that if the bad weather, the rain would have difficulties for the plane, for the jet fighters, is that true? Well, I mentioned that a lot. We have clouds that a particular type of cloud is problematic for the jet, fighter jet. And I would go all the technical details in the technical discussion about that. But just to explain to you, whenever we are in military operation, we were told, or we are restricted not to take any of photos, because the background of a photo can easily give information of the location of that someone in this picture. So a photo can provide all sort of intelligence. No uniform, no location in photos. So these are all the restrictions that they have. They stand as a strong institution since they run this business for over 70 years. They are bad, but there are good practices that they have themselves. So my point is that the member of medias, the PDF, also need to have such good practices in uprooting the SAC. The times is up. Now, I just would like to say goodbye to everyone in this conversation. Now, I just would like to ask Dr. Thiha to give your word of goodbye to the audience. Thank you. Well, rather than word of goodbyes, I just would like to suggest and support and encourage people. Without people's support, no war can win. We have this famous saying. So for the public, you can do a lot in this. So whatever ways and in whichever ways that you can participate, please do so. Don't be discouraged. Don't be depressed. You can do a lot in this movement. Thank you. Now, Kozinzi, the floor is yours for your point. I mentioned quite a lot already, but importantly, people can do a lot on the ground. People can do a lot in social media. Even if you cannot support or assist in social media, keeping yourself silent in social media already can mean a lot for the good contribution of these revolutions as well. We win until we defeat it. So it is important that we are to be serious and we are to be true that we want to have a success. You know yourself how much, how strong, and how intensify your participation in this movement are. Please align yourself. Don't cheat yourself. You can do a lot, as I mentioned, in education, in IDPs, in contributing, everything. So if you can extend your limit of your participation in the revolution, then please do so. And lots of politicians says that the longer this revolution is, the slimmer the chance of the win. So this is important. Please make sure that everyone intensify their participation in here. Now, Siamadolo Lawin, please share your word of suggestions to the public. Well, I just would like to say that most of the time we learn most of the things from the public. We feel encouraged by the public. So in return, I just would like to encourage the public not to believe everything when you read, And please check the media and make them balanced as well. The winning of the revolution is what the public must enjoy. With this word, I would like to conclude in here. Thank you. Thank you very much for all of your words. It's been over 2 hours that we have this conversation. By now, I hope that you learn all the do's and don'ts, observation, information on the utilizations of the social media and the risk of the propaganda of the SAC. And I would like to say goodbye in here and thanks to all of you.
Come be